let's do a quick review. Type 1 factoring. Look for a greatest common factor. So just as a review, quick example. Is there a greatest common factor? And it is 5x. You divide both of those guys by 5x. What do you get?
2x squared plus 1.
Right. How do I know it's correct? You multiply backwards. Do your distribution, you get back here. Type 2 is a perfect square minus a perfect square is going to factor to that sum and difference pattern. So you have to notice, do I have perfect square minus perfect square? I do. So I get, over the two things, what's the square root of 4x squared? And yes. If you have a question, raise your hand. Some of us are like there, and some of us not quite. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Type 3 says now you've got a trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Wow. Not working. Do that. Anybody like technology a lot as I do? It thinks I'm pushing the button, and I'm not. Okay. Let me just do it the old-fashioned way. So a type 3 is an x squared plus a bx plus a c. So if I have x squared minus x minus 12, right, it fits this pattern. So that says open up two parentheses. X times x is the only way you get to x squared. I look for two numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 1. Right? So because this is negative, you have a negative and a positive. They're subtracting. 4 and 3 subtracts to 1. Since it's a negative 1, that bigger number becomes the negative. Good. So 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to do 4 and 5 today. And that's all the factoring we get to do. We get to do more of them in algebra too. That's cool. Type 4, one way to remember type 4, it has 4 terms. Type 4 has 4 terms. And they're in descending degree order. What does that mean? The exponents go down. They go down. So x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x squared, you know, it goes down. And rather than talk about it, let's just do one here. First, before we do it, we're going to look at what does it mean to factor a common polynomial. I'm going to change this problem slightly. Let's do this one first. How do you factor xy plus 3y? If you know, raise your hand if you know. Emma, how do I factor that? Take the y out because it's the common factor, and then what? What's left? X plus 3, right? You divide out the y. You can see this guy. It comes right out. Now, what's going on here? Instead of it just being a variable, a y, I've got a common polynomial. And I can factor it out just like I factored out the y. I've got an x minus 5. That's the same. I'm going to factor it out. When you factor out, right, you take it out and then you open parentheses, right? So if I divide by my common factor, what's going to be left? X plus 3. That's factoring out a common polynomial. Seems like you're like having trouble wrapping your head around it. Let's look at another example here. So I've got 5x squared times an x minus 2 plus a 3 times an x minus 2. I have a common polynomial, don't I? Same thing in both terms. So I'm going to factor it out. When I factor it off, you know, that's like dividing by it, right? Dividing by it. What's left? 5x squared plus 3. Yes, that's all you have to do. Don't make this hard. Yep. Because you know how I factored it out up here? I put this in parentheses? It's the same kind of idea, right? When you distribute to get back. So I would do the same thing. I have to multiply both sides to get back. Yeah.
Okay, so is the two
Polynomials?
yeah, polynomials divided by that, that's the one and the other is just the flat.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing you did up here. Remember how we took the y out? And here's what's left, the x plus 3. So here I'm taking out this thing, and what's left? The 5x squared plus the 3. So look at this guy now. So do I have a common polynomial? Yes. think about x minus 8, right? I'm dividing by that. So that goes away. You'll see the 11x. What's x minus 8 over x minus 8 is 1. You could also think about, well, what you're really doing is you're taking the coefficient, or this little term in front of it. What's in front of this one? The invisible 1. So he comes out. What happened? Then I can't do this, right? If they're different, if these aren't the same, then they're not common. I can't factor it out. Then it's not a good factorial. I can't do it. But if it works, then I can. Yes. To solve equations. We use factoring to solve complex equations. Ask the physicist. There are real life applications. I always say the reason I do it, it's fun. What are you laughing at? You're a good one, Miss Grieser. No, it's fun. All right. Type 4, we're going to use that little thing we just practiced. Type 4 has 4 terms, descending degree order. Now, what do you do with it? Split the polynomial into 2 separate terms. I call this group. Use group and use group. Group. Once you've done group, you're going to do factor. So you look at this little group in here and you say, can I factor this? Don't worry about this. I just want to factor this. Doesn't mean not that to happen. Greatest common factor there? N squared. So Quinn, what's going to be left after I factor out the n squared?
N plus 6.
Excellent. Great. Now that's for one factor. Here's my second factor. What's my greatest common factor for that guy? And then what's left? Now I do my happy dance. Why am I doing a happy dance? Common polynomial. So he comes out, and I'm happy. That's absolutely. What's left? And look at that factor. Woohoo! Anybody follow that? That's not so bad. It might be. And we'll do another one. It's like, what? So here, look at 4 terms.
This is really easy.
Descending degree order. Group. Now here's a negative. So watch what I'm doing with the negative. Look up. Make sure you're watching. So I'm trying to group with the negative inside. This is not a multiply. Put the plus back in. I'm still adding these 2 groups. It's just that this was negative. It kind of got separated out. And that's supposed to be a plus, but I'm having trouble with the technology here. So it's this group plus that group. Now I factor. So the first one, factoring out a n squared, shall we? What's left? All right. Now I need to factor this guy. Remember our rule. If there's a negative, factor it out, right? So what am I going to factor out here? Negative 2. You've got to be careful with that. You might even want to just write it out. So what's left? N plus 7, right? A negative over a negative, happy dance, right? We have our common polynomial. N squared minus 2. Sort of I can factor that. N plus rad 2, N minus rad 2. But we're not going to worry about that. It's fine. Yes?
Plus in the middle of the 2.
These, no. These are now factored. So it's a great question. When you factor, they're multiplied. Because I did a distribution, like a reverse distribution. Good question. Yes?
Does it matter which order you put your final answer in? Like, for example, that way n plus 7 and square minus 2 or 0.
What do you think? Can I write it this way?
Yeah.
Why? Unit property multiplication. Yes, you may. So sometimes, some people like to pull out the n squared minus 2 first and then do the n plus 7. Legal? The standard form of a polynomial. So these need to be in their standard form. 4 terms, descending order, let me group. Now there's a negative here, so I'm going to put my plus back in because I am adding these 2 guys. So let's see, what do I got in common here? 9x squared. Let's factor it out. I'm left with x plus 1. Plus, what am I taking out here? Minus 7, right? And then what's left? Oh, happy day! Yay! Look at that. So I have common polynomial. Take it out. And so what's my other factor? How cool is that? Pretty easy. And type 4. And that is type 4. That is so easy. That's it. think we're ready for a U try. I will draw your attention to B. I'm going to challenge you with it. You have to think a little bit about it. Well, I'll leave you to it. I think you guys can do it. So try these. So B you say? Now, if you look at y minus 2 and you look at 2 minus y, what's the same, what's different? Same numbers, but opposite signs, right? This one's positive, this one's negative, this one's negative, this one's positive. What can I factor out of here that would flip my sign? In negative 1. So before I do anything, I'm going to keep this guy the same. Now when I factor out a negative 1, it kind of gets combined with this 5. So that becomes a negative 5. And now my signs are flipping, right? Right? Can I rewrite this guy? That's y, 2, and look at. Now I can do the happy dance. You take out the y minus 2, and you're left with a 3y squared minus 5. Yes?
So when you multiply by negative 1, or
I'm not multiplying by negative 1. I'm factoring out the negative 1. I'm taking a negative 1 out. Like you know, here, one of these, I can take out a 2 or whatever. I'm taking out negative 1. Yeah, and that all that does is it flips my sign. So remember, it's going with this 5 here. So the negative doesn't get lost. And they're equivalent. Yes?
So for number 6, I understand it, but you were supposed to put
This guy?
like, yeah, you're supposed to put the exponents in order.
Yes. You reorder this in descending order. That was the problem with it. It wasn't in descending order. Then it should become relatively easy. Group. Factor this guy. Factor this guy. Take a moment for your happy dance. Because I got my x minus 3. And then I have an x squared plus 2. Yes? We got this? That's type 4. That's it. That's it. I should probably write it down. Hopefully we're following. Because type 4 is important when we do, wait for it, type 5. Okay. Type 5 looks like type 3, x squared plus bx plus c. What's the difference though? My leading coefficient is not a 1 anymore. So maybe it's a 2, maybe it's a 3, it's something else. So let's see, we're on the back here. So I'm looking at the first example up there, 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. If you remember your flow chart, first question is always, is there a common factor? Because sometimes these things look like a type 5, but you know, this will factor out, it's not. So always look for a greatest common factor first. Now, do I have a greatest common factor? I don't. It's not a difference of squares. The leading coefficient isn't 1. Now you're getting to the new box on the flow chart there. And here's how it works. This, that, the other. Okay, yeah, guess and check. 2 methods I would have talked about. When I took this, how many years ago was that when I took algebra 1? 300-400? We would have to guess and check it. And you know what? I can't even talk about this now. I have to send you to lunch. This is serious suspense. Look at 2 different ways to kind of think about this. So again, I was talking about way back when I learned how to do this. This is the only method they taught us. And it's guess and check. And what you do is you basically reverse FOIL it. What do I have to do to get here? So you think about, well, I multiplied 2 binomials. The only way to get a 2x squared is if I had a 2x and an x, right? Because the only factors of 2 are 2 and 1. Let's see, then I look at 3, because the only way to get here is I had to multiply 2 numbers to get to 3. The only way to get to 3 is a 1 and a 3. So, you know, I just basically had to guess. So which way do they go? So maybe I'm going to guess 3 goes here and the 1 goes here. Now this is a plus and this is a minus. And that means that both signs have to be a minus, because that's the only way I can get a positive number here and a negative number here. So I'm doing thoughts. So that's my guess. Then you check it by foiling back. So I get 2x squared minus 2x. Whoops. I don't know why this is writing so sideways. Then I get a minus 3x. And then I get a plus 3. I combine this guy and I get 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. So did I guess correctly?
No.
No? Okay. So now let me guess again. The only other guess I have in this situation is if I switch the 1 and the 3. So I switch them over, and whoops, that's just an x, sorry. So I get 2x squared, 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x, negative 1 times 6x is negative x, and negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. I combine those guys, and now did I guess right?
No.
So I guess this is how you factor. That's guess and check method. And this was how I learned how to do it way back a long time ago. And I had a lot of trouble with this because these are prime numbers. There's only two possibilities. What if this was like a 20 and that was a 12? Look at all the different possibilities. To get to 20x squared, 1 and a 20, 2 and a 10, 5 and 4. How do you get to 12? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. How many guesses could I be making here? You know, more than 3. Oh, there's all different kinds. So, you know, it was hard. Now, there are some people who say, well, it's obviously not enough. They just see it. There are some people who can just see it. So I like actually showing this method because if you're one of those people and you just see it, yeah, I'm amazed too. Somebody going, how could you possibly see that? They just do. They just do. So, and it's way faster if you just see it when you write it out. It's taken me a really long time to be good at it at all. Now I can do, if there's prime numbers, it's easy, or maybe one of them is a prime. I can kind of do it this way. I still think it's a really, really difficult method. So it's out there. But I don't recommend it, certainly not when you're first learning how to do this. So this method that I'm going to show you now takes all the guesswork out. It's a process and it gets you there every time. So it uses grouping, which you told me was easy. Remember telling me grouping was easy? Group, factor, factor? Yeah. So here's how this works. Now you always, because this is number 1 on the flow chart, factor out a greatest common factor if there is this. Sometimes a type 5 is really a type 3 in disguise. After you factor, it turns out it's a type 3 because the A becomes a 1. So you always do that first, and plus it makes things easier. Now, let's say we've done that, and we have something that isn't factorable anymore. So I'm looking at this guy here, 2x squared minus 7x plus 3, right? This is not a type 3 because look at this. My leading coefficient is a 1. This is a type 5. So here's the process. Everybody up and watching. It's not that hard, but there's stuff going on here. It says multiply A and C. What's A and C? What am I talking about? Yeah. This is ax squared plus bx plus c. So a is 2 and c is 3. So you multiply them, 2 times 3. Then you find the factors of this product, of a times c, that are going to add up to the b. Kind of like what we did before, very similar to what we did before, except now instead of just putting the 3 there, I'm putting 2 times 3. So what two numbers multiply to 6 and add to negative 7? So these have to both be negative, right? Negative 6 and negative 1, yep, that works. And here's what you do with it. Okay, you're watching, everybody's up there and they're like 900%. So I know sometimes after lunch you're doing other things. Everybody's eyes aren't on the board, so nothing to do. Everybody up there? Excellent. You split up the middle term into what you found here. Might be helpful to put x's here, because instead of writing negative 7x, I'm going to write negative 6x minus 1x, because what is negative 6x minus x? Negative 7x. So I'm just splitting that guy up. I'm reverse spoiling. I'm letting it do it for me. Now the 2x squared stays, the plus 3 stays. I'm just messing with my middle term. I'm rewriting it a different way. Then I'm going to do grouping. I've got 4 terms. Group. So I'm going to group this guy. I'm going to group that guy. I'm putting my plus back in because I am adding the 2 groups. Remember what you do? What do I do with this guy? Factor it. So what's my common factor? 2x, right? Because there's an x here. Yeah, I didn't do it either. What do I have left? X minus 3. And then whenever there's a negative in front, let's take that guy out. So what happens after I take out the negatives? Like dividing by negative 1. X minus 3, right? Talking about the negative. Happy dance. X minus 3 comes out. And what's left? Again, not everybody's looking at the board. I can't continue if everybody's looking. 2x up here minus 1. Right? There's kind of an invisible 1 there. and it's factored. Right? This is the same one I did on the other page that I had to guess and check. Same thing. Yeah, I didn't have to guess. What? What's the matter, Claire?
Just saying it's like two.
Yeah. So group 4 is helping us do group 5.
If you do like group 5, you always pick up group 4.
If you do this method, you will do grouping. Yeah. And it's nice because it's always going to work. Let's try another one here. I've got 15x squared plus 13x plus 2. This is the one on your paper. There's like 2 boxes, method and example. So it's kind of like, here's what you do, here's an example of doing it. So let's look over here. You multiply A times C. What's 15 times 2? 30. And I need two numbers that multiply to 30, but add to the middle number of 13. Right, because they're positives, they're all going to be positives. 15 and 2 would work if there was like a negative 30 involved, but I'm adding everything. And if you want to put the little X's here to remind you where they go, then I'm going to flip this guy up. Yes, ma'am?
So how did you have to do it?
I did A times C. 15 times 2. Add this guy and this guy get multiplied. Alrighty. So then this just comes down as is. It's 15x squared. Now instead of writing 13x, I'm writing a sum. 10x plus 3x. How did I know to do a 10 and a 3? Because I did this little analysis here. And then the plus 2 comes down as we had before. Now I've got 4 terms. I'm going to do a type 4. Group, group. Then we factor, factor. So I'm looking at this guy. What have I got here? 5x. Now what's in here? 2. Oh, look at this one. Hey, you don't have to do anything. It's already 3x plus 2. We do our happy dance. Yep. Then what? Factor out our common polynomial of 3x plus 2. And now what's my other factor? Factor. Now should we check it, do you think? Might be a good idea. What's 3x times 5x? 15x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. Plus 5x times 2 is 10x. What's 3x plus 10x? 13x plus 2. Did I get the right thing? Yay. So that's how we factor them. It's not like it's so very difficult. There's just some steps involved. Let's do another couple of examples here. 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. First look, is there a GCF? Because if there is, maybe I don't have to do this at all. Nope. And this is type 5, right? It's not a 1 here. So you multiply A times C. Now this is a negative number, so it's negative 60. Two numbers. Multiply to negative 60. What do they need to add to? Negative 11. So what can I use here? This is negative, so I got a plus minus, right? What two numbers that are factors of 60 subtract to make 11? 10 and 6, no one doesn't work. 15 times 4. Who's positive? Who's negative? 15 and 4. Who's positive? Who's negative? The negative is the 15. So now I can split up my middle term. 6x squared, and if you want to put the x's here, you can, just to remind yourself, plus 4x minus 15x minus 10. Does this 4x minus 15x negative 11x? Yes, so I split it up right. Now I do my group. So negative sign here, put my plus back in. Factor this guy, let's see, 2x. And I'm left with the 3x plus 2. What am I going to factor out of here? Negative 5, right? Negative 5, divide these by negative 5. Sometimes it's a negative. It's helpful to see it. You get a 3x plus 2. Okay, right, they match. Factor out the 3x plus 2. And I'm left with the 2x minus 5. And I factored it. Easy. We did it. Didn't have to guess and check. This one you have a lot of guessing to do. That could be a 1 and a 6. That could be a 2 and a 3. That could be a 1 and a 10. That could be a 2 and a 5. I'd be a lot of guessing. Yes? 14x? You can do it that way. What happens if you do it the other way? 16x minus 15x plus 4x minus 10. Does it matter which order you put these guys? Let's just do a quick check, does it? You get, what do you get here? 3x, 2x minus 5, pull out a 2x minus 5. Look how it doesn't matter. It's just it gives you the other polynomial as your common one. Doesn't matter. So either way is fine. You see what I mean, Emma? But it works. It's just this one, when I had it this direction, the 3x plus 2 was the common one. If you turn them around, the 2x minus 5 came out as the common one. Doesn't matter. Right? Let's try this guy. So what do I do first?
Multiply
Multiply a times c. And you say what two numbers? Yes. What two numbers multiply to negative 15? And it's going to be a plus minus, because that's when you get a negative. 15 minus 1, right? Okay. And if you want to put the x's in, you can. You don't have to. But that says, it reminds me it goes there. Bring down, those guys just get brought down. So 3x squared plus 15x minus x minus 5. Right? That's that. 15x minus x is 14x. Group. Put in your little plus here. Take out a common factor of 3x. Looks like I'm getting x plus 5. What am I taking out of this guy? Negative 1, right? Gives me an x plus 5. Okay. Woo! Happy dance. Take out that x plus 5. What's left in the other factor? 3x minus 1. Yeah. It does. I think about that. You're dividing by like a negative 1. These become positive. Yeah, so that's what's there. Okay, this guy here, what's my first step? So I did 14 times negative 4. What do you get to do? What do we get to do? Always is there a greatest common factor here? I hope it's 4, because if it's 4, that would be great, right? Then it becomes a type 3, but it's not 4. What is it? 2. So I take a 2 out. 2x squared plus 13x minus 7. And now when I'm factoring, I'm just going to really be focusing on this. Now the 2 comes along for a ride. You can't throw him away. He's still there. He's still a factor of this, but I don't have to worry about it so much. So I'm just using this. So 2 times negative 7. And then I've got to add up to 13. It's going to be a plus minus here. Let's do minus plus this time. So what's it going to be? Positive 14 and a negative 1, because that multiplies up and it adds down. I'm going to be splitting up this guy. So the 2 is here. Bring down the 2x squared. Now what do I have here? Minus x plus a 14x. But that's what we found up here. And then minus 7. 2 just hangs out. So let's see. I'm going to group it. And I'm going to group it. The x is my common factor there. 2x minus 1. Let's say 7. 2x minus 1. Woohoo! 2 just stays right here. The 2x minus 1, I'm going to factor him out. Who's left? X plus 7. Yahoo! You got it. Question? Answer? Comment? I don't think I want the comments. No, I don't think I want that. It's not that bad. What? That's a good comment. I will vote for 2. All right. So again, that's the teaching. That's it. Now it's just, rolling up your sleeves and just working it through. I think this is actually described on the flow chart briefly. I mean, you kind of have to know what's going on, but it is on your flow chart to kind of help you along. Meanwhile, work on these, read through, don't forget, the H times C. See if you can get through the steps on these U-trucks. All right. How do we do? I know everybody's not done, I know that. But I just want to see where we are at this point. Do we have questions on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7? Do we have questions on any of them?
How about the one that you the hint with the
Which one is that? I put the hint up there. Which one? Yeah, D. Now you don't have to do this. You can just leave it and do 8 times. Say that's negative 28. You can do that. I always find it easier to take that negative out first. And for me personally, I think it's easier when this is positive, so we do. So I always factor that guy out and I work with that. So I say, I've got negative 28 has to add to negative 12. Now where does negative 28 come from? 4 times negative 7, right? So what are two numbers? Oh dear. Looks like negative 14 and 2. Okay, so let's split that guy up. Now the negative just kind of stays outside here. So 4x squared minus 14x minus 2x minus 7. I'm going to do my group proof if I could get in there. I think I'll do a group here. So it's negative, let's see, 2x rather, x minus 7 minus 2x minus 7. And then I take out that 2x minus 7. And what's left? I can't even read my own writing. Looks like 2x minus 1. And, let me try again. So I take out the negative. 4x squared minus 12x minus 7. I need two numbers that do that. So that becomes 4x squared. Negative, that's plus 14 and 2. Right? Minus 14x plus 2x minus 7. I'm going to go through. So I get a negative 2x, don't back it up, wrong fucking 2, minus 7 plus 2x minus 7. Now it's working. The 2x minus 7 comes out, and the 2x plus 1 stays in. And it's done. Okay, so we have a minute or two left for questions just in general. There's a lot of steps. So keep instructions in your guide as you work through it. No, you can do any method you like. So I would do this on the test. I wouldn't do